Time to lay down some serious.
He's eating a root of some special sort to sharpen his wits.
Do you know where your teenager is at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Hear the drummer get wicked.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new thing. I know I'm pretty new anyway, but I figured I'd try some different kinds of content. I know reaction content is a big thing. I'm not really a big fan of doing it myself, although I thought this would be kind of fun. Last couple of days, I've been, clearing out drives, making room for stuff, and I found a bunch of my old content on a couple of my old YouTube channels. One that's the Dark Canvas, which I highly recommend you check out. And in there was buried a bunch of food stuff. I'd obviously tried to go through this process of building out some sort of online engagement in the past. And I found like two distinctive streams of my culinary / service industry publications. One was a set of cooking videos, as well as some rants I did when I was in between being in the industry and out of the industry. At the time, I was working for as a digital marketer and a legal referral service, and I decided to just do these rants and made a YouTube channel and put them up. Not a lot of traction because I didn't really understand what I was doing, but I just figured, hey, why not rant and rave? And then I have a second set of things that kind of all cascade together. And they're all experiences from my time in the Northwest Territories in Yellowknife, from cooking videos to some marketing videos that I'm hoping to share as I go. But today I thought I would take one of my old rant videos and react to it. So this is my attempt at doing a bit of reaction and content for myself. So yeah, let's check this out and kind of go from there.
Block party on the trap now.
Listen up.
Shh. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. Food trends are fucking dumb. No, they're really stupid. The problem with food trends are, just like every other trend, is that they actually come and go. I mean, what was last year's trend and the year before? Pulled pork, tapas, or some sort of pickling?
To be fair, I'm pretty sure pulled pork is a never-ending trend, but at the time in which this happened, which I'm gonna say is like 2016. So I think this is 2016. What's up with the fucking tooth, my guy? And just so everybody knows, I did not rehearse these. I wrote down a bunch of topics and just rattled off like a nut job and decided to just post them. I did do the edits and all of the after effects and things of that nature. Big fan of that old logo in the corner there, the V with the horns. I was trying to start a catering company at the time as well, and I thought this was a really good idea to market my catering abilities with my big mouth. It is what it is. Anyway,
Doesn't seem to be going anywhere because the hipsters aren't going anywhere, so we're probably gonna have to still somehow
still have
deal
it
with the
left.
term artisanal or rustic. And don't get me started on fucking bone broth. What the fuck was that? You know what we call that in the fucking industry? Stock. You know what you do with stock? You flavor stuff. And if you're gonna serve it, you generally season it and you call it soup. But
there was this. My wife and I went to the store in Cambridge, Ontario, and on the shelf was this jar of bone broth. And I mean, I've always been pretty opinionated as a human being. I think as I've aged, I've sort of realized that a lot of people don't give a shit about my opinions. And although I'm happy to share them, I guess I'm less offended when I'm not being heard. In this case, though, I was so angry about bone broth and the idea of marketing stock as its own thing rather than just calling it stock, like beef stock or chicken stock. They called it bone broth. And please bear this in mind. This is really like the era of the hipster in Ontario specifically. Like we were starting to get things like um, plating on trees and shit and bark and a lot of very pretentious very pretentious and unrelentingly pretentious chefs were coming through, and like everything had tweezers and everything was just so, and no one was using normal ingredients anymore, but it wasn't like they were expensive. Like it wasn't like everybody was throwing $500 worth of truffles on a pasta or a mac and cheese. It was more this idea of, using outside of the box ingredients and then being super, super pretentious and entitled because you were being so fucking special. Um, I think at this point in my culinary career, I was very much harkening back to the better days of, make the plate, make it shine, and the world is great. You don't need to gimmick the shit out of everything. Um, as we're going to see as I kind of post some of my old content, we're going to see that I myself break from some of the things that I was so vehemently against. We'll talk about plates when I show that rant, and then I'll show some of my plates, and then we can all giggle at the fact that I broke my own rule. But yeah, I still listen even to this day. Big hater of food trends and anything that's trendy. I think I would still agree with 2016 J that yeah, no, don't follow food trends. I mean, if you really want to use food trends as an effective means to understanding your business, I would recommend learning about the food trends and seeing how they can fuel creativity within your shop. But to, just bite on a food trend that everybody else is biting on, and then you just have copies of copies of copies throughout all of your competition and yourself. I don't think that lends itself well to standing out and certainly making a mark on the industry or your geography. I think you're better off almost avoiding them because you can almost guarantee that most people will be doing it. So why not offer something that's an alternative to that so that you don't get, drowned in the sauce, so to speak? But yeah, sorry, continue.
The fact of the matter is that anybody who's a slave to a food trend is likely going to lack success. You don't want to follow trends, create your own trends. Start looking outside the box and creating something that's really, really unique in the restaurant industry today. Like start with, I don't know, knowledgeable service staff. Or, strangely enough,
I hate hipsters so much. I honestly don't know why I hate hipsters so much. I seem to really like to backlash at them. I mean, how about this? I think my exposure to hipsters, specifically in Toronto, and this was very much when I was breaking into the back of house environment. Uh, I was finding that the most pedantic, annoying, uh, unfettered blowjobs of human beings all identified as hipsters. And there was just kind of this like air of entitlement that just made you feel fucking icky and just you just wanted to say fuck you to them all the time. So yeah, there was this, I think this really visceral, total fucking disregard for the hipster and the hipster movement. Um, yeah, I think that's at least that's my answer for now. If I can figure out a better answer, I'll let you know.
an adept yet small menu. Try seasonal menus. And screw this nose to tip, tail to top, vine to tip. Fuck, you know what has to happen? All of these clever little goofuses who are sitting around their offices or inside their back rooms or hiding around the ceramic that they used to serve stuff on because they've decided to start using wood or a slate or a hat. They should all start actually working in restaurants. Because ironically enough, it's really weird. When you actually work in restaurants, you learn about them.
Don't fuck with me.
Yeah, I was always a big fan of the outro.
Congratulations, you won.
I was like, yeah, I love this. I love this, like, this end here. It's fantastic.
You learn about them.
Don't fuck with me.
Just by the way, it's a Flostradamus song. I'm pretty sure I pulled it off of a SoundCloud mega mix or something like that. But big fan of Flostradamus. Sorry, I kept stealing your music. I don't monetize these videos, so I'm imagining I won't get too much bullshit. Hopefully, they will copyright strike it. Maybe people will like it. Go to SoundCloud, look up Flostradamus. Really fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. But yeah, I always dug that whole, the fuck with me at the end just because it felt good. And I always tried to hit my rant with like a good punchy end, like sort of a takeaway of like
You learn about them.
Don't fuck with me.
it was really good. Again, I don't know how
Congratulations, you won.
was gonna give me more fucking clients. Sorry, I don't know how that kind of connected in my brain of like I'm gonna take shots at the industry and call people fucking dumb in it, and then you'll hire me to do catering for you. Maybe it was the whole Toronto thing. Like in Toronto, maybe more so in most places, but I'm sure there's major city centers that have the same sort of requirement of arrogance. I guess is maybe the best way to look at it. So I figured if I'm just a dick about some of this stuff, my message would get across. And I'm pretty caustic and sarcastic, so it just seemed to work. And I was pissy. I mean, at this time, in this time in my career, I dedicated my life to chefing. Years before that, I crossed the floor just after I got married. So about 2008, 2009, I guess. And like I had fallen deeply in love with kitchens and food and food preparation. And I'd gone from a Mexican restaurant that was small and I kind of hit a ceiling there. And then I went to a big corporate shop and I was doing sous chefing and doing a night sous chef for a 600 seat restaurant that was like very focused on summer. And then from there, I went to a even bigger restaurant that was a year round, but it was a new operation in a really high end, new, trendy space in Toronto called the Distillery District. And that was just this mega restaurant. It was just huge. And of course, like most mega restaurants run by corporations, it was understaffed. We worked too hard and worked too much. And then I went to a small space where I was the executive chef, but it was on King Street West, which is like the high end area of Toronto. And at the time, I was doing TIFF parties and meeting movie stars. And that fizzled and died because of, well, I had fundamental disagreements with the ownership on their approach to how they dealt with their staff. I'll leave it at that because that, is a great history moment. We can talk about that in another video. So I left Toronto and went to Cambridge, Ontario, and I got this job at this little 50-seater. It was janky as fuck. It was kind of isolated, and I didn't drive. I didn't drive cars, so I rode my bicycle there in the winter. It was just arduous, but it was small. But we didn't have like a range or hoods. We were using induction burners and a barbecue outside in -20. It was just super janky, and I had to try to, you know, kind of ninja and Frankenstein together really creative food with a limited amount of equipment. And it was challenging and I enjoyed it. And the ownership, I think, just had me as a placeholder. They had left, the chef left, and I think they had another chef in mind. And they had to fill the gap for like the tail end of the Christmas season because I left Ontario early November, I think it was. And we ended up in Cambridge for Christmas and around that Christmas period. And parties and events and private dining and all that stuff, plus New Year's Eve. And this is the kind of place where you have, you got to get food, you got to do courses. It was just sort of built like that. It's called the Easy Pour Wine Bar. And the owners were weird. Like one, I think, was a banker, I think, or something like that. And the other guy was kind of like a tradesperson. I won't name people. I don't think it's a good idea. But it was so bizarre because I'm working through all this bullshit and trying to figure it out, and like I'm doing pseudo high end stuff. The jobs I started to get outside of Toronto, I would like bring photographs of my food and be like, "This is what I do. If this is what you want, this is what you're going to get. If you don't want that, you got to tell me." And this happened to me. The air at the Easy Pour. It happened to me in Yellowknife, in one of the places that I got hired there. And it was just like there was this necessity for these people to tinker the shit out of stuff, and then like undermine my vision with the stupidest shit. Like he would say, it has to be higher end. We got to use higher end ingredients. And then he would be like, can we have cheeseburger soup next week for our feature? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, not refined enough, but we should make cheeseburger fucking soup. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so fucking weird. So, I'm up there and I'm doing this, and then 3 months later, with no cause, no warning, no writing, I get just like, I think 2 days before my probational period ends, I get shit canned. And I'm in Cambridge, Ontario, and I'm outside of my comfort zone. And we just moved from Toronto there. My parents-in-law helped us financially. It was a fucking ordeal, right? And this happens, and I get a job in an office. So now I'm bitter because I've done this move, and I'm outside of my comfort zone, and now I'm outside of the restaurant industry, and I'm outside of what I've just now invested a ton of my spirit into and my emotions. And I start to realize I want to rant, and I want to scream about stuff. And I'm still reading about the industry and looking at the industry like a very voyeuristic kind of approach, but still super invested. And this happens. So these rants, the food trend rant you just saw, and there's a litany of others that I did. They all come from this sort of idea that I was hurt, like really, really hurt. And I wasn't willing to just blame the people that hurt me. I wanted to blame the industry as a whole for how it hurt me. And as I kind of age in the industry, how I've now noticed that it's not only me who suffered, but tons of other people have experienced the same things I've experienced. And certainly would be great topics for future videos, and absolutely will be. But I thought this would be kind of fun to sort of just kind of dip my toe back into some old content and to just chat about it with you folks. But yeah, this series of rants, which I'll show all of them and do this kind of react stuff to, all come from this place of I'm not going to say bitterness, although there's a lot of bitterness in there. But it was mostly this idea. I felt I was really hurt. And I think a lot of chefs or professionals in industries that they see slightly derailed, or they notice people take advantage of people within it. It hurts. It's not just anger. It's not like I'm pissed off because I can't earn, or I hate the fact that it's this idea of like you're destroying something I love. And since I love it so much and you don't seem to give a shit, it's creates venom, and it creates this idea of just like wanting to fucking smash face. Sorry, I don't mean to imply violence, but sometimes violence is like the only default answer you might have. So that's one of my rants. I am Villainous J, also the Villainous Chef, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take her easy and be safe, because cold. Happy winter. If you enjoyed this chat, don't forget to like and subscribe and do all the fun YouTube things. It certainly keeps me motivated to create cool content, and I welcome some comments. So jump right in there and start our discussion.